Hi, so in this video we're just gonna show you what it's like on these hikes on our backyard trails. And this is just to give you guys, for the beginners, an idea on what it's like, because on our first official hike we thought that everything is, just flat and easy, but we ended up climbing mountains and ravines. So in this video you'll see what it's like to go on trails. I hope you guys enjoyed that short video of our hike, and we will now be diving right into the discussion. The things that will be discussed here will be based on the context of the Philippines setting, but it may also apply to other tropical countries, probably countries nearby like Malaysia, not so much probably Hong Kong, but Thailand, I guess, and Borneo, and countries of the likes. So as we move on with our discussion, please bear that in mind. So first and foremost, let's talk about safety. I couldn't stress this enough. Please be careful out there. The trails are not to be underestimated and not to be messed with. So what I would advise is that if you're new to hiking on trails, please bring a guide with you, or at least someone who knows the place. But if you can, there are people out there that you could pay just to show you guys around the area. We call them guides, and they usually ask, just an affordable amount of fee. There are hiking places like mountains that ask for higher amounts of fee, so it depends on where you will be hiking. And usually the fees are in packages. So probably in one hiking spot there's a package of 5 person per guide at least. So but you could always negotiate. Like for instance, the one time that it was only me, my wife, and my sister who went on this hike. There were only 3 of us, and I think the fee was at least 5, so it was 300 per head. And because there was only 3 of us, we negotiated that we were gonna pay 400, I guess. So we only pay 1,200 pesos, and he was kind enough to understand that there was only 3 of us, and so we did a little compromise. So yeah, you could do that, and you just need to ask your local guide or anyone who's familiar with hiking on those areas. As I was saying, never underestimate the trails. The jungle or the forest is never really a safe place. There are no signs there. There's no street. There's only trails. There are times that there are no trailheads. So you do a little bushwhacking, and I guess that's the more dangerous stuff. But in many known hiking spots, there's usually trails to follow. So that's the purpose of your guide. He knows where to go. There are times when a trail branches out to at least three trails, and if you do go off on the wrong trail, then there's a chance that you might get lost, and it is pretty scary. But sooner or later, if you're used to it, and if you're familiar with the place, like if you're for trail runners, if you train on that area, then most likely you're going to be familiar with it. So later on, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of some advices on what you can use to navigate these trails. So next, I would suggest that you bring more than enough water, especially if you're new to the place. You wouldn't want to run out of water, because that's your fuel for these hikes. And if you do run out of water, then there's a chance that you would be weak enough to not be able to go back from where you came from. So that would be undesirable. So yeah, please bring enough water, more than enough water, I would say. Also, bring food. These hikes are going to be pretty tiring, and you would want enough energy to go back where you started. And food is a fuel also, besides water. And so bring your food, like anything that you think is tasty. Then I think that would be good enough for you for starters. So next on the list is make sure your phone has enough battery. This is most important if you go out alone, or if you're with someone who's also new to the place. And yeah, if something goes wrong, then you would want to be able to call someone for help. But I think, in my opinion, if you are with a guide, then most likely you wouldn't need to you wouldn't need it as much as when you're going out alone on the trails. I think the guide has their own phone as well, because in many hikes that I went to, for the younger ones, they do have their own phone, and with these guides, I think it's most likely safe because these guys are well equipped and trained to handle people and situations on these terrains. So yeah, I know for a fact that a lot of people go out hiking for pictures, for Instagram, for your Facebook, and so most likely you're going to be using your phone for that. If you do have a separate camera, then much better, but mostly people use their phones. So if you do have a guide, then I think it's safe to use it up all for your pictures and videos. So for people like me and some of my friends, we mostly go out on the trails alone or in a small group. Then you would want to have your phone, and you would want to have enough batteries. Yeah, if you do have a power bank, then that would be much preferable. So last on the list for safety measures, I guess, would be to do some kind of workout before going out on these types of activities. Hiking on trails is pretty physically demanding, and if you're not fit enough, you're not healthy enough to do these strenuous activities, then there'd be a chance that you're gonna get injured doing so. I know that some people would get by just by walking or hiking for a couple of hours before the actual hiking trip. So 2 to 3 weeks out, I guess, would be enough for that. So you would want to make your legs accustomed to all the hikings that you would do. Most likely these hikes would span a couple of hours back and forth. I think the shortest time that we did a hike was something like 3 hours. So yeah, be prepared for that and try to replicate what you would do on hikes. So most likely you're going to be going up and down mountains, and yeah, you could try and seek out some streets in your areas, or you would purposely go to an area where there's elevation, and just go up and down those streets, and do that 2 to 3 weeks out, and I think you're good. Now let's move on to the benefits. So the question, with all the potential danger and hazard in going on these hikes and activities, why would you want to go out hiking on trails and stuff? And my answer for that would be, first and foremost, that it is healthy. It is a form of exercise, and for me personally, it's a fun form of exercise. It is the reason that I am active now. If not because of that one hike that we did, then I'm not sure if when I would start running. And it is a good motivation. It is a good push for you. So unless you have some sort of heart conditions or any health conditions, then I think you need to consult your doctor first, and just to avoid any complications. So next, the air is freshest in the mountains. So if you compared it to the city, there's no fumes around, and there is some sort of chemical stuff in nature that I'm not pretty sure what it is, but it has some sort of effects on you, and mostly these effects are beneficial. So yeah, fresh air is always good for you. It's good for your lungs, and it's good for your overall health. Next, the views. Yeah, so the views are magnificent. The views are the best i- on these mountains, and most likely you're gonna go hike on famous hiking spots. And most usually these hiking spots, you know, people flock there for a reason, and that reason are, you know, the magnificent views. I will try to show some pictures here on some of the places that we go hike in, and most of the time these pictures don't do justice compared to the real thing that your eyes would see. So I suggest give it a try, and you know, see if you like it. So moving on, let's talk about gear. So hiking boots or hiking sandals. Please use hiking boots. So anything that has lugs are preferable because I know that, you know, I've seen a lot of people, mostly guides, that, you know, they don't have these expensive boots, hiking boots. They only use slippers, and they could go out, they could walk on the trails for hours, you know, without breaking a sweat. But because we are, you know, city dwellers, we're not used to these terrains, then it is advisable that, you know, to enjoy these types of trips and activities, you know, use the right gear. So for instance, on this one trip that we did, it was our first official hike that me and my wife did. The place is called Panimahawa Ridge in Bukidnon here in the Philippines. And in the start of this video, I mentioned that we thought everything was flat. Honestly, we thought, you know, people go there to take pictures, and they usually don't. Many of them don't take pictures of the trails leading up to the peak, because most of the time you would be going out there. You would be starting when it's dark. That's what we did. It all depends on the place that you'll be hiking to. So yeah, there are no pictures of what it was like starting out the hike. So what happened was we ended up going down these cliff sides and ravines, and the night before it was raining, so it was pretty muddy all around, and I was using a used up running shoes that my dad gave me. You could barely see the threads on the outsole of the shoes. So even if it was not that used up, I would expect that I would still be sliding all around, because it was pretty muddy, and you would need some sort of traction, you know, to stand in place. And the opposite was what happened during that time. So, you know, I ended up most of the time hanging for my dear life. And I did find a stick to be useful in that situation. But if you do have the right gear, you know, if you do have the right footwear, then it would help a huge amount. And I think it would make, you know, the hike more enjoyable compared to being nervous on the whole trip, especially on the way down. So next, you would need a pack, any kind of pack. For starters, you could use any bag, but, you know, later on you would find out that there's a lot of options out there that's more convenient, like some waterproof vests. And there are sometimes you could make do with belt bags. That's what my wife uses. And the only reason for using these are to store your water, your food. So anything that you could use to store the essentials is, I think, is good enough. You may also bring a shirt, but I found that in most hikes that I do, at least for me personally, is that I only change my clothes after the hike. So yeah, for beginners, I think you could bring a shirt, but later on, if you're much more experienced, then you would know if when you would need extra shirt, if you do ever need a shirt. So next is a hat or a cap for sunscreen. There would be a big chance that you would be hiking under the heat of the sun. So you need something to protect your head, your face, or your neck. So you could also use a buff. In most videos that I uploaded, you would see me using a buff. So it's not just for your sweat, but you could wear it around your neck and protect it from the heat. A cap could only do much, but a buff goes around your neck. So yeah, I would say bring one. If you won't be needing it, you could just wrap it around your wrist, and it has a lot of uses as well. So yeah, bring a buff. So next, of course, bring your phone. It's both for taking pictures, videos, and most importantly for communication. If you could bring a camera, an extra camera, then as I said, it would be much more preferable. But if you want to be lightweight, then you could just use your phone. Now lastly, I'm gonna set you guys up on what to expect so that you guys won't end up like we did. Now, there's always elevation. In every hike that I did, there's always ascending and there's always descending. So do expect that. And as I said earlier, please practice going up and down some of your local streets before you go out on these hikes. You don't want your body to be shocked, and many times it's pretty bad during the first time. And in my case, I went pale because I was too weak, I was too tired, and I didn't know the physical I didn't know the physical demand that the activity imposes. So both descending and ascending have their own difficulties. So yeah, do expect that. Next, in every trail that you would hike, there would be varying terrain. So there are places that are muddy. There's also places that are rocky. There are also places that has loose rocks. Grassy areas is another thing. And here in our country, here in the tropical countries, we don't have snow. But if you do go out, if you are in, let's say, in America or in the UK or in Europe, then there are places there that are snowy. So yeah, do expect those things. So these activities are not a walk in the park, and yeah, be always prepared. So sometimes you would be doing river crossing. It is something that I have always thought of to encounter, but it's something that I didn't expect to do on my earlier hikes. And I learned that sometimes these river crossings or any body of water would be inevitable. Next, be prepared for some heat. many times, if not all, you would be hiking under the heat of the sun, so it would be pretty hot. So yeah, that's what these hats, these caps and buff are. That's what they are for. So yeah, always bring them with you. Don't bring umbrellas. I I see some hikers, especially the casual hikers. Probably they were first timers as well. They have their umbrellas with them, and in these hikes you wouldn't want to be holding on to anything, unless if it's a stick that you would want to use, like something like a pole, to aid you in going down and going up these mountains. Also be prepared for the rain. Many times nature is very unpredictable, so I did experience a lot of rains in my hikes and trail runs. So yeah, be prepared for that, and don't be afraid to get wet from the rain. Most of the time, I just take a bath after these activities, and usually I'm all good. I don't get sick, but yeah, it is better to be on the safe side and prepare those meds or vitamins. I guess another advice I would take is take in healthy food after, and if you could, yeah, maybe just incorporate that in your regular diet. Fruits, vegetables are always good for you, and I find that if I eat more of these stuff, I wouldn't get easily sick from the elements like rain. Depending on the area, it may get cold. So I've been to a couple of hikes that are high in are in high altitude areas compared to where I am living. So it gets pretty windy up there, and the temperature drops to degrees that I'm not used to. So bring some sort of windbreakers, a jacket, and preferably bring light ones, so that it won't add weight to when you're hiking. Next to expect are insects. There will be insects. Recently I learned that applying insect repellents is a good idea. There's one hiking place that I go to that is there's a section there that's swarmed with mosquitoes, and now that I'm using insect repellents, I get lesser bites from these mosquitoes. So yeah, I think it works. In relation to that, be prepared for wildlife. I think the only wildlife you'll be concerned of here in the Philippines are snakes. We don't have mountain lions or bears, so most likely you'll be encountering snakes. I don't encounter these often. I rarely see snakes, but I do see snakes every now and then. So yeah, be prepared for that, and be on the lookout for those. You wouldn't want to step on one and get bitten. There may also be dogs around, like in one area that in one hiking spot that we go to. There are houses on these mountains. People do live there, and they have domestic dogs, and most of the time these dogs are not used to seeing people. So be prepared to pick up some rocks, but don't throw rocks at them right away. You just want to startle them a bit to caution them from getting near you. Now lastly, be prepared to walk for hours, and I would want to reiterate one of my advices, that do some sort of workout, especially on the lower part of your body, the legs and your feet. And these trips, as I've said before, at least they would take 2 to 3 hours. And yeah, you would want to, you wouldn't want to get too tired to not be able to go back. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I guess to wrap things up, don't be afraid to go out hiking. It is I know I've said a lot of scary stuff, some potential hazards and dangers, but most of the time, if not all, these hikes are pretty enjoyable, and it's really fun, most especially if you go out with your friends, and they're pretty good for your social media with all the pictures and videos, and it is healthy for you. It could be a gateway to other fitness activities like running or even walking. And yeah, it is where we started out, and I found out mostly that all I could think of when doing these activities are the benefits. The only times that I was in some sort of danger was on times that I was alone and going on these trails that are pretty new to me. Even though I have a map with me, I still end up getting lost in some of these sections. So other than that, if only you have a guide, then it's really fun, and I couldn't recommend it any better. So I guess that's it. I hope you guys got something out of this video, and I hope you guys got something valuable. So if you do have some tips, if you're experienced on these types of activities, then you could write it down on the comments below, and I'm pretty sure some people would find it helpful and valuable. Once again, I thank you guys for giving me some of your precious time, and I hope I see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.